All right, good morning. Derek here. We're going to get started now. Seem to have most people joined now, so we'll get going. First of all, thank you for joining this morning. Today we're going to be doing a presentation on Monday.com for CRM. We're going to be covering off a couple CRM products today. We'll also talk about some concepts around integrating your CRM into Monday.com. A little bit about ourselves here, Eligeo. No, sorry, I'm kind of skipping ahead. We'll get to the agenda first. So we'll go through a little bit of who we are and how we work with Monday.com, as well as how CRM fits into the whole conversation. We're going to talk a little bit about the difference between a CRM system and Monday.com. Then we'll get into some examples. I think a lot of the feedback we hear is how would we integrate our CRM into Monday.com? We'll cover that after we talk about the differences between the two as well. Then we're going to get into a couple examples. The first one we're going to talk about is integration with Sugar CRM. And then we're going to talk a little bit about integrating into Salesforce as well. There's some examples that we have today to go through. And then finally, we'll finish off with Q&A. I suspect we'll probably go about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on questions. If you've never used Zoom before, I'll just kind of guide you a little bit through Zoom. There is a Q&A box that you can pop some questions in if you have any questions throughout the webinar. I will see them on my screen pop up. So feel free to drop anything in there, and between slides, I'll keep an eye out. And if anything's in there, I'll address them as appropriate. And at the end, I'll do a summary. And of course, you'll have another opportunity to do Q&A at that time too. So a little bit about ourselves. I believe most people that we've invited to the webinar today are customers of ours. They've either connected with us through Monday.com or they're existing CRM clients of ours. But to give you a little bit of overview of what we do here at Eligeo, we teach customers how to use business software better. So a number of things that we work with is on the CRM side. So we help businesses adopt and implement CRM systems. Monday.com is another product we brought on last year to help our customers create better workflows around project management, around task management, and it's around collaboration as well. We're also certified on the platforms we work on, so we have really strong relationships with our partners. So a lot of the things that we do, we put our team through a lot of rigorous training and a lot of in-depth courses to ensure that they're always on top of things. So if you ever have questions about some of the stuff that we talked about today, feel free to reach out. On the services side, specifically on Monday.com, if you're just getting started with Monday.com, we have a few different things that we offer. One of them is a business process audit. It's one thing to pick up a piece of software and implement it in your organization. It's a whole another thing when you're trying to actually fit it into your business in terms of people and process. So we work with customers to actually do the whole process analysis side of things to get a better understanding and overview of how your business operates. And we actually help our customers adopt those business processes into Monday.com or into the CRM system they're using. So we have starter kits. We offer training. We also have like custom integrations, which of course we're talking about today. So let's talk about a little bit about the differences between what CRM is and how Monday.com fits into the whole picture of things. CRM is something that's been around for, well, really a couple decades now. The most popular out there is Salesforce. There's a number of others out there. I'm sure if you Google CRM, you'll find a lot of information on that. The ones we'll talk about today, of course, are Salesforce and Sugar CRM. Sugar CRM is a product that we have worked with for a number of years at Eligeo. And it's something we've also built an integration that we're going to walk through today on as well. But really, what is a CRM? What does it mean in comparison to something like Monday.com? The CRM primarily is for tracking sales, setting up task reminders. If you're using Outlook in your organization or Gmail or any kind of email client, you can use the CRM to integrate into those email clients to actually share information and to have reminders pop up on your desktop and whatnot. It's another thing of capturing communication. So if a customer is emailing you, you can take that email and archive that back into your CRM so that the next person that deals with that customer can actually go into the CRM and see all the historical history of what's been happening with that particular client. More on the sales side is even forecasting sales. So sales teams, when we work with them to implement CRM, we're helping them track the opportunities that the salespeople are working on, especially in a B2B environment, where we want salespeople to write down the opportunities they're working at and track the sales process and the sales stages that they're going through in order to close deals. So a lot of that lives inside of the CRM, and that's where reporting side of things comes in handy, whereas sales managers, VP of sales can go in and they can actually run reports and forecast out over a long-term period of what sales potentially could look like and the probabilities that are associated with them. It's also, on the service side, an interactive case and service management tool. For instance, at Eligeo, we have our CRM integrated into our entire service process. So when our customers contact us, all the communication happens in the CRM. It's, again, one of those things where if one person is working on a case or a trouble ticket or an inquiry from a customer, and let's say someone needs to pick up that case a couple of days later, they can go through the history in the CRM to have basically a holistic view of everything that's happened with that client over time. Ultimately, your CRM is kind of your final destination of information. It's where proposals will go. It's where contracts that are signed are going to be stored. It's where you're going to find an entire portfolio and view of your client in one single spot. And that covers all areas. That covers the sales side. That covers marketing. That covers customer service, potentially other areas like technical support, your social teams, as well as strategic management. And of course, I'll touch on, again, I mentioned forecasting on sales, but reports is kind of the key thing. Since you have all of this information on your customers, on your sales, your service, and your marketing, it's an ideal spot to have reports being generated out of, because you're collecting all the information from these different sources, which leads us into what Monday.com is for. And this is another source of information, but it's also a really important tool in an organization, depending how you're deploying it. And a few of the things that we talk about, especially for us at Eligeo, we use it from a project management standpoint. So as clients are signing up, our salespeople are working with the clients to turn them into customers, and then projects are started as a result of that. We can kick off workflow inside of Monday.com, which generates a series of tasks that needs to occur in order for that project to start, to succeed, and to complete. So that's where we get into active management of tasks. So as we're completing tasks, there might be a whole series of conversations that need to happen. A lot of that stuff isn't really relevant for the CRM, especially if it's kind of like email communication in the old days before things like Monday.com, where people are emailing back and forth. A lot of emails are flowing back and forth, but you don't want all of that information to go into your CRM as in the final destination, because they might not be completely relevant. But what we do is we use Monday.com as that platform to really give us that information. So that's tracking and planning of activities. So as we understand what a project might look like, or what type of, and we'll get into examples here in a bit, but the tracking and planning is, as we're setting deadlines, who's assigned to what stage of the process is that particular task, or rather pulse is at. That's all happening inside of Monday.com. And that's the collaboration and communication. So especially in the software world where we play in, if there's an issue that a customer is having with a piece of software, we can take a screenshot, we can copy that screenshot and paste it right into Monday.com, and then the rest of the team can see all that information in one spot. Of course, it's troubleshooting and sharing information on an immediate basis. So we're knowing where the CRM is a final destination information. Monday.com is a great way for us to share information, make decisions, help clients out as far as troubleshooting problems in an active way. So let's talk about use cases. So I have 3 different use cases I'm going to go through here. If you want to find out more, you'll notice I have some sample boards here. I basically borrowed these from Monday.com. You can find them at Monday.com/stories, which is a great resource if you're looking for ideas on how to build your boards. Monday.com/stories, and I can post it on the Q&A at the end. But that's a great way to find what other people are doing with Monday.com. And I've taken a few examples here to kind of give you an idea of why we would synchronize CRM back and forth with Monday.com. So let's talk about project management. So a few of the examples here is automatically pushing pulses and updates to the CRM. So if I'm the sales team and I've closed the deal and I want to know what happens with a particular prospect, it's one of those things, for instance, in our case, we won't have our salespeople using Monday.com. They use the CRM because they track their leads, they track their follow-ups, they track their deals, and everything of that nature is handled inside of Sugar CRM. So when they want to know what's going on with a particular project, we want to be able to push that information from Monday.com into Sugar CRM so they have visibility to see where things are standing. So an example of that would be that the pulses, as they're updated, as statuses are changing, as we make comments, that data is automatically pushed inside of Sugar CRM. And because it's pushed inside of Sugar CRM, we can actually run reports. So we can have reports automatically emailed out from the CRM directly to the salespeople to give them a constant update of where things are at. And it can be a report that happens on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, but they can kind of get a visibility of where the project stands and if there's been any delays or any kind of concerns that they might want to follow up with a client on. And that's where the requests, statuses, due dates, and all that information can be pushed into the CRM. We can also take that information, and if you can see in the screenshot here, a lot of this data, we can pull all this data and push this into the CRM. And we'll go through the integration here in a bit, but we actually have it so you can actually integrate the client name can automatically be associated to the pulse inside of Sugar CRM. So that way, if I go to look at ABC Company, I can see everything related to ABC Company, including the pulses that are related to them. So it makes it really easy for a user of the CRM to log in, look up ABC Company, and get all the relevant information they'd ever want about that particular client. Let's talk a little bit about order processing. So maybe you're in a B2C environment. And again, you might be using a CRM, but we can actually take a little bit further. You might not even be using a CRM. You might be using something like Shopify or another e-commerce platform. And it's possible that those e-commerce platforms are integrated back into the CRM. So we could do it a number of ways. But one of the most common ways to do it is the Shopify would talk to the CRM, and the CRM could talk to Monday.com. What is the role of all three? The role of, say, Shopify in this instance is obviously to process the order, process a shopping cart, get people to actually do the purchase, collect the payment and whatnot. Shopify then can push that information into the CRM so that we have trackable visibility of an order going into the CRM so we can associate it with an account or with a contact so that we know that they purchased something. And that can help us on the marketing automation side in the future. So if we want to send out email marketing, if we want to send out different kind of communication in the future, all of that can be driven from the CRM. But now that we have a new order being pushed into the system, potentially we want to drive fulfillment right from the CRM into Monday.com. So what we could do is generate a board, we could generate tasks, and we can automatically push them into a group. So for instance, you might push a pulse and automatically have the CRM generate that pulse right inside of Monday.com, which then would prompt the fulfillment team that does use Monday.com on a regular basis to actually work through the entire process inside of Monday.com on a visual basis. Now, a lot of people might say, well, why wouldn't that be in the CRM? You could, but again, we want a tool that's easy to use. We want people to actually have some flexibility in how they manage workflow. So some of the great features about Monday.com is the fact we can do timeline views, we can do calendar views. We can actually go in and use Monday.com to help plan out things. So if you're a fulfillment team looking to fulfill an order that came from, say, an e-commerce website, you can now have that seamlessly integrated into Monday.com where I can go in and run and actually manage that entire fulfillment process directly from the the boards inside of Monday.com. And the best thing about integration, again, too, as we talked about in the last example, is keeping the salespeople happy, is being able to take information as it's been updated in Monday.com and push that back into the CRM. So everyone has visibility. Maybe the accounting team needs to have visibility to specific information. They can access that from the CRM. They can run reports on what's been ordered, what's actually been shipped out to clients that day. All of that data can be easily generated inside of the CRM. And to add another spin to that too, if you're using your CRM properly and you've built out workflows and follow-ups, you might even have it set up there in Monday.com when we mark the order as shipped, that we might have that notification go back from Monday.com to the CRM, and the CRM might send out an email communication. Thank you, Mr. Customer, for your order. We just want to let you know that your product is on the way, and we'll reach out in a few days just to make sure that you got everything. And that can all be controlled through a basic workflow inside of a CRM. And most modern CRMs, like the Sugar CRMs, the Salesforces, Dynamics of the world, those all have workflow built into them. And those kind of workflows are pretty common. So let's take a little bit different example, cleaning company. So again, we're using the CRM as kind of that, as our home of information about our clients. In this particular example, and again, this is borrowed from Monday.com stories, what we're doing here is we're going to use the CRM to trigger different boards being generated depending on different times of the month, of the quarter of the year, or any time period that you prefer. So let's say we have a weekly cleaning schedule for John Smith. John Smith wants to have cleaners every week. So what we can do is set it up that when the salesperson inside of the CRM has closed the deal, maybe they got the signed contract back through something like DocuSign, that would kick off workflow to actually tell the CRM to send a message to Monday.com and tell it, okay, we have a new customer, and now we need to generate a board, and that board will contain a client's name, and it'll generate, based off a template, all the cleaning tasks associated with that particular contract. So that'll be pre-filled. We can set it up so it's automatically assigned to different people. We can set it up so there's calculated dates. We can do all those things, no problem. And then what we can do with workflow, and this is the nice thing about using the two systems, is you could kind of marry up both of the systems' capabilities to create a pretty slick process. As far as on a weekly basis, we might have the system automatically generate a new board and assign it to people. And that might only happen on a weekly basis if we're having cleaning every week. So that when I get notified, oh, here's all my tasks for the week, me as the cleaning person, I just look on my phone, on my mobile app for Monday.com. I go visit John Smith's home. I run through the checklist of dusting and mirrors, cleaning the sink. I'm checking off all these things. And then we can set up triggers on the integration as well that says, oh, all the tasks have been completed. We can now send out a customer satisfaction email. We send off an email to John Smith, and this would be triggered through the CRM because the CRM will say, oh, all the tasks we put into Monday.com, they've all been signed off. They've all been completed by the person. Let's send a satisfaction email to the client saying, Mr. John Smith, thank you for for purchasing our services. We'd like to invite you to fill out the following survey on how well we did for you today. They can fill out that survey, and this can get into more whole integration talk. But we have a lot of clients we built surveys for, so you can actually even build in the surveys into your CRM as well. So if you really want to track customer feedback, all that data can loop back into the CRM. And guess what? You can build reports. Lots of reports you can build. Really, it's once the data is in the CRM from, say, Monday.com or from a survey system or from your emails coming in, from calendar appointments, all this stuff, you can really create a lot of unique reports to really create some really good metrics and help drive your business a lot better. So that's a little bit on some use cases. What I'm going to do now is jump into some examples as far as the systems go. So the first one we're going to talk about is Sugar. Then, like I said, we'll get into how Salesforce works. It's a little bit different than what we built for Sugar. So we actually built a couple months ago a Monday.com plugin for Sugar CRM. So it's a pretty robust system. It does require some custom work on our end for clients to actually set it up. And it depends on the complexity of what you're trying to do. I basically just gave you 3 different examples of how we can create an integration with Monday.com. And right now, that's because it's so flexible, we can do a lot of different things. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to stop sharing our PowerPoint here, and I'm going to flip over to our web browser. And we're going to walk through a little bit on the synchronization tool that we have. So, like I said, we have a tool. It's called CRM Sync. I'm just going to click on it here. So it's just a web-based tool. It's kind of like we call it a middleware. It's a middle person. It basically talks to Monday.com. It grabs some information. It turns around and it passes the information back over to Sugar. Right now, it's only a one-way sync. We can set it to do 2-way sync, but before we make that commercially available, we're just waiting for some API upgrades, which are happening for Monday.com this fall. So you'll see a new update for our plugin coming in the fall that'll make it even more robust than it is already today. Now we're going to walk through this a little bit here. So if you're on the Sugar side of things, what we've done with this is you can go in and set up your Monday.com account. So we've taken an API key from here. If you don't know where your API key is, you can actually just click on your name at the top right. If you go to admin, just because it shows my API key, I won't show it on this webinar, but if you go to admin, you can see your API key in there. And then you can take that API key and you actually configure it inside of the system here. We can just dump it in here. And from there, we can actually configure the Monday.com side of things. And then what we do is we also configure Sugar CRM. So underneath here, we have our URL for Sugar, and we have a username, and it's active already. So basically, we're trying to get the 2 systems talking to each other on the first go around here. And then we create a synchronization. And the way a synchronization works is we've set it up so that it's by board. So it doesn't synchronize every single pulse in Monday.com to the CRM. You could do that. You'd have to go create a different board basically by clicking on new configuration. I'd go and pick an API key. Now, what it does with that, it actually loads all the boards from our system, and we can go pick a board, and then we can pick what we want to do with the Sugar side of things. And that will actually create the integration rather. And then from there, if I were to go to synchronizations, I can see the detail that this is running right now. So the last time it ran was it's running every minute, and we can see it's successfully synchronized at this very moment. So I can actually click on activity logs here, and I can see that we haven't pushed anything in there right now, but I can kind of see a history of what updates have happened most recently. So let's go take a look at what that might look like on the Sugar side. So if we go over the Sugar CRM here, there's a plugin we can install inside of Sugar CRM, and that will create a couple modules called pulses and updates. So from here, I'm just going to click on here. These are some sample ones I threw in here this morning. But if I want to go back here and let's go click on, this is a webinar example. And I click out of here. So what's going to happen now is we're going to wait a couple, within under 60 seconds, this is going to update again with this pulse to give us some information, and we can do some stuff with it. But also at the same time, updates are coming in. So I can go to an older one here. Let's go click on this guy. So I put a test there earlier, but here is another test. And I can drop a little Giphy in here if I really want to. So working on it, done. Have a little fun with it, I guess, right? So we'll close this out here. And so what I could do is always click on the activity log here. And so it hasn't run yet. But when it does, it'll push everything over here shortly. So we'll give it a couple seconds. And you can always go back here, pulses. Okay, there we go. This is a webinar example. I can see it right here. So if I were to click on, this is a webinar example. This gives me some basic data. I have the pulse URL, so I could click on here. It'll take me right to the pulse itself. But let's go back to the other one where we had an update. So this is, again, need an update when you can meet with the client to discuss issue. But at the bottom here, there's a little subpanel for our updates. And here's that test. I just put that in there right now. If I click on that, here's another test integrated directly inside the CRM. So this data actually lives inside of the CRM. So you can actually create a report on all these pulses coming in. And so how many updates on average do you have on pulses in a day? You can have that kind of information available to your fingertips. There's a sample, another one I had this morning, which you saw. If we were to go back and click on here, this is obviously syncing the two back and forth. Like I said, right now it's doing one way. We do have the ability right now, we don't have it turned on, but you could create a pulse and push, or an update rather, and push that back into the Monday.com. But we're waiting until the fall because of the new capabilities that are coming out. So that's the Sugar CRM side. So let's talk a little bit about Salesforce. So we're just going to click, just going to go back to the service side. So on the Salesforce side of things, it's a little bit different. We are planning to build a plugin on that CRM Sync tool that you saw this fall as well. We're just waiting for the new API tools to come out. But to kind of give you an idea of what it might look like, it's not going to be much different than what we've done with the Sugar CRM side. So in the case of this Salesforce instance, we've actually created an object over here called pulses. There's nothing really exciting going on inside of here, but we could do something very similar to how we've done it with Sugar. But this is stuff you could do today. And to do this, we're using a tool called Zapier. And I'm going to walk through that in a second. So it is a third-party tool that you use, but you can actually have information from pulses. So this is the same pulse that we saw earlier pushed over here. Now, to get that kind of information into Salesforce, what we're doing is we're using Zapier. So Zapier is zapier.com. And the way it works is you have to create a trigger. So we'll walk through this right now. The trigger can be a number of different things. It can be when a new board gets created, a new update, maybe a column value has been updated. So for those of you that might be new with Monday.com, these are your column values. So if this status changed, for instance, that could trigger an update over to Zapier, and or a new user gets created. So in this case, we have it set up. If there's a new pulse on a particular board, then we're going to automatically push something over to Salesforce. So we click on continue. And what it does here, no different than we did with the CRM Sync tool, we're taking the API key that we had and we drop it into Zapier so that it can actually have something to connect to on Monday.com. So once we've done that, we click on continue again. And this is where we now get to edit our options. The first option, of course, is the board ID, like which board are we going to do this on. So we can go in here and it'll actually pull in all of your boards. And we'll leave the customer service example here, but that you can pull in any board that you have based on that API key. You can then click on continue. And it's now going to say, okay, we can pull data. The test worked. I can click on here and see what pulse it pulled. So it pulled that same pulse we talked about. And then we can click on continue. And the way Zapier works, it doesn't go back in time. So once we set the zap up, and they call them a Zapier, of course, it's going to take everything from now and going forward. The downside with Zapier, and depending on what package you're on, in this case, the package we have on our instance is 15 minutes. So we won't wait around for this to push it over, but it is checking every 15 minutes when we have to look for any new pulses. So there's downsides to that. There's some limitations on the API with Monday.com that we work around. The CRM Sync tool works a lot better that way because we can actually throttle and we can actually manage the data going through. So I've configured my pulse now, but let's go take a look at the Salesforce side of things. And this is also very powerful. And it doesn't have to be Salesforce. This also works. You can see we have Zoho on here. There's a ton of different CRM products on there. The only thing with Salesforce, though, and Sugar is that you can actually create a custom module, just like this Pulse up here, or the Pulses and Updates modules you saw in Sugar. You can do those custom things with those applications. A lot of other apps, Zoho's, Pipe Drives, They don't have those capabilities. So if I go into Salesforce, there's a few things I can do. You can see, what do I want to do? I want to create something, so I can create a whole, if I want to create a lead, if I want to add a lead to a campaign. We're using custom object. So we created this custom object called pulses. So that's how we're feeding that data into pulses. What we could do if we got really creative and spent more time on it, you'll notice at the bottom we can actually search for information. So I can go and look for a custom object. And the way I could look for a custom object is that at the top bar here, you can see everything has an ID. If I click on here, it has an ID up there. So we let the computer basically go in here and look for that ID and say, all right, does that ID exist? If it does, we don't want to create the pulse again, but maybe we want to update it. So you can kind of use Zapier to do those kinds of rules. So we'll leave it on custom object for now, but the point being is you could create a note on an account. You could do it on a contact, whatever you want to do. So we've already configured Salesforce, so we're not going to worry about that. We'll just click over. And from there, this is where we can configure our custom object. And this is like a mapping exercise. Like, okay, well, I want this custom type to, I want to go into the pulse objects. I want to put the name. So if I click on here, you can see I can map the pulse URL, the board ID, when the pulse was created. I can pull this information automatically and associate into Salesforce. If I had the update, it would also give me the update. And actually, I think we have a couple minutes. Yeah, we're doing good on time. So I'm just going to click back. Let me just show you quickly what an update might look like. If I click on new update and we click on continue, and there's the API key again. We'll select the API key. And we'll go fetch a record because it's going to see, it wants to show us an example. So it's just going to go grab it right now. So, all right, so take a look at this. So this is pulling in, here's another update. And now it's pulling in, it's HTML. So, and that's, you know, that's kind of, jokingly, that's the secret sauce of how we get the visuals inside of Sugar today, is we take this HTML and we import it right into Sugar. So it's pulling in Giphies, which is all publicly available stuff. But I get all the information about the update. And of course, I can take all that data and I can put it right into Salesforce. So of course, just going back here to, we'll just finish this up here. I'll just point out one more thing on the mapping. And so of course, we pick Salesforce. We want to create the custom object. And of course, we want to integrate that onto Salesforce. Now, we'll pop back in here. You'll notice now, we only have the pulse name field on the object in Salesforce, but you'll notice now we can actually map anything. If I want the body text in there, I could drop that in there. I can do whatever I want with Zapier that way. And then all I have to do is click on continue. And so a test object, so we tried that yesterday as well. So we can retest it. Send test to Salesforce. I might be able to show an example right now. All right, it was sent. So let's go back to Salesforce, go to pulses, and here's a webinar example. So that's a quick way of showing you how to do this. And of course, this will run every 15 minutes to see if anything's been new that you want to push over. And I'll just point out, you can actually do the reverse. You can actually have Salesforce go back to Monday.com. There are limitations though when you're using Zapier. It's very rigid, whereas the CRM Sync tool has a lot more flexibility, and it will have a lot more when it does get to Salesforce in the fall. All right, so I'm just going to stop sharing there, and we're just going to pop back to the presentation. So that's really wrapping up our webinar today on Monday.com CRM integration. Just a few things. My contact information is here. If you do have questions, feel free to send them over. It doesn't look like we have any. No, it looks like we're good. So, but for everyone on the call, I mean, if you do have some questions, feel free to reach out. My email's there. My phone number's there. I'm out of Vancouver. So feel free to reach out. We do 1-hour consults on how to integrate into your own CRM. If you don't have a CRM, we can always talk about that too. But if you're just looking to hook into an existing system, feel free, and we can talk about that as well. And we also have a lot of custom services available. If you're in the pipe drive world, there are ways to build integrations into pipe drives and Zohos and all that. They're not as elegant what we can do on the sugar side, but there are options available there too. So I thank everyone for joining us today. Like I said, feel free to reach out. But thanks again for your time, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.